Started. I do want to ask all of our sponsors, thank you for being patient with us. If we could just ask if there's any conversations that you're in, if you could please take those out in the hallway, we would appreciate it because we have about 120, 150 virtual people that are tuning in. And we want to make sure that they will get the clarity of the stream that we have. And I do want to let everyone know, if you came late or if you are watching virtual and you missed anything today, all of the sessions will be on demand for 5 days. So if there's anything great, there was lots of great things we heard today, but if there's anything you want to take back and share with your team, the stream is available for 5 days. So one of the things that we started doing post-COVID is this event tours through about 28 different cities across North America, and we pull our local audience. We pull our local audience and as just basically asking them, is there anybody that you would like to nominate that has been going above and beyond and doing the extraordinary work that you all already do. We try to celebrate all of you all today by having a great keynote speaker, having an open bar, and doing everything we can today, but there are a few people that we are going to recognize. So, starting with Yvette Flores, who is the head of security for the city of Lakewood. Thank you, Yvette, for all of your hard work. Then I have Augustine Gonzalez, who is the Cyber Operations Manager from the U.S. Air Force. Is Augustine, am I saying that right? Augustine, okay. Thank you for your service, and thank you for all your hard work. Then we have Vincent Mercado, who is the Security Operations Manager from Canvas Credit Union. Vincent Mercado. Vincent, are you still here? I know everyone that I have here did check in, so. Robert Jean, who is the Chief Information Security Officer from American Financing Corporation. Robert Jean. Oh, Robert. Oh, and you don't have a yellow lanyard. We missed you. Well, congratulations, Robert, and I'm sorry that we missed you, but thank you for all your hard work. Neil Schell, who is the VP of Cybersecurity at Bank of America. Neil, are you here still? Thank you, Neil, for everything you do, and Neil has been supporting our events for a long time, so thank you, Neil. Kenneth Rupee, who is the Cloud Security Engineer from Bank of America. Kenneth, are you here still? Kenneth? How about Steve Selby, who is the CTO for the Office of the District Attorney for the 18th Judicial District? All right, congratulations, and thank you for being here today and all your hard work. I have Douglas Hiltwine, Security Engineer from Nordstrom. I know he just won something on the spin wheel, so I think he's here. Douglas, are you still here? Well, oh, no, I thought he was coming up. I'll try these people again at the end. David Ambrose, it's David Ecolis Ambrose, Director of Cybersecurity and Privacy at PwC. And you are not wearing a yellow lanyard either. I'm sorry we missed you. Thank you for all your hard work. Okay, this person stepped up at the last minute. We were looking so hard for a woman to join the panel, and it was not easy. So all the women in here, please message me so I can include you in our speakers next year because it was a little tough. But Quintana Patterson is awesome. She's the IT Clinical and Compliance Manager for the University of Colorado, the Anschutz Medical Campus. Thank you so much for saying yes at the last minute. So, Michael Hutchison, he just transferred here from Dallas. We knew him in Dallas. Well, we know you now, too. He's the VP of Information Security from Bank of America. And thank you, Michael, for being here and supporting our events. Cody Burrows is a CISO, pen tester, all kinds of things, architect, engineer, VP, director of security at JP Morgan Chase. And thank you, Cody, for being here and sitting on the panel today. Then I have Mohamed, who Mohamed is responsible for helping us out here. Malki, he is the Enterprise Security Architecture Director of the State of Colorado Governor's Office of IT. Thank you, Mohamed. Thanks for supporting our events, Mohamed. And last but not least, we have Merlin Namuth, who is the CISO from Realtime Electronic Payments. Thank you, Merlin. Merlin is going to be moderating the panel today, and we encourage everyone here to participate. If you have a question, please raise your hand. For our virtual audience, we would love to hear from you, so just put your question in the chat box, and we will make sure that we ask the panel. But I'm going to start it off with Merlin, and I kind of did just introduce each of the panelists, but I'm going to let each panelist introduce themselves. So let's welcome this great group of panelists.
All right, thanks, Kim. So you heard my bio at the keynote, so I'm not going to go through that. But one of the additional questions I'm going to ask the panelists is, as you introduce yourself, what is your security superpower? One of the things, security has gotten so complex over the years, since I started 24 years ago, that you can't be an expert at everything. So what do you consider your superpower? And I'll say my superpower is incident response. I worked for a very large defense contractor years ago, and that's all I did was incident response. And so I feel like I still know that area pretty well. Mohamed?
Thank you. I think my security superpower is understand that the security itself is not an objective, is the business. So the moment you decide that you are there not to say, I'm not going to tell no to the business, but you're going to say, how can I help the business to achieve that objective through doing security? As long as you do that, you have a seat at the table. Otherwise, they can't wait to bypass you. Cody?
Superpower. One of the things that I've learned through the years of security is we have a hard time in being understood in what we're trying to do. And security is very typically looked at as purely a technical issue. And the problem is that whenever you're looking at the business, much to what Mohamed was just saying, if you don't understand that if we don't have the business, we're not going to be able to come in and work and protect anything, we're kind of missing the point. So one of the things that I've done is tried to bridge the gap between the sysadmins and the technical end up to the C-suite and the management, and then even over to the users and to the business itself. And if you get everybody kind of understanding what the other is saying, now all of a sudden you're actually making the point of fixing the remediation or getting the resources you need or whatever else, because I haven't seen any organization that didn't want security, but they didn't understand what the other was saying, so you didn't get there. So that being able to bridge those gaps is, I guess, a superpower.
My superpower. Dealing with security and compliance, I would say my superpower is patience. And it's because you either are dealing with compliance crises. Oh my God, we have this compliance that we have to be with HIPAA, and then can you make Azure ChatGPT compliant? Like, I don't even understand what you're saying, but yeah, so patience, just being able to hear what is being requested and take out the pieces that are important and kind of relaying that back to the requester, so.
Hi, I'm Michael Hutchison, and I think my superpower would probably be education, because I work with Bank of America and I'm in remediation in that, but I also teach at community college and I teach cybersecurity. So I think the biggest thing for me is, educating the young people, and not only just formally, but talking to them about just general keeping their own computers secure, what to put online, the social media, what they can't, shouldn't do, that kind of stuff. And then even at work, trying to work with the remediation teams, the application teams, the assessors, and the education, you just can't get enough of it. So I think that's a good superpower.
All right, thank you very much. In terms of the ChatGPT, all you need to do is ask ChatGPT how to be compliant. So,
as soon as I figure that out, I'm going to be super rich.
That's right. So, of course, ChatGPT is in the news and everything. So, I'd like to hear from panelists. What do you think about ChatGPT? I mean, the pros and cons to security.
I'm laughing because I've been complaining about this all day. I could not wait to get this off of my chest. It's hard to look at it because there's the technology piece of it and there's the human piece of it. And both of those, for me personally, clash because I'm like, oh my God, AI is coming to life. Pretty soon I'm going to be living in the Minority Report, and most of you may not even know what these movies are. But these were movies that were way before your time, and they're telling the story about where we're at. Like, you're seeing that. Am I going to think about killing somebody, which I do every day, and then am I going to be put into some hub and get some kind of crown put on me? And then the technical aspect of it is I work at the University of Colorado, Anschutz campus, so it's tied to a hospital. So I have researchers, I have doctors that hear one inkling of anything new and fabulous, like, oh my God, we don't want to be behind technology. Oh yeah, by the way, my disclosure, I cuss sometimes, so if I do, it comes out, I apologize now. But they want to use this technology in fabulous ways without really thinking about the impact that it's going to have on their patients, on them, on the medical equipment that's being used. That is my fear, and I think the fear of my job takes over my fear of AI before anything, because I'm like, they have all these requests and they want to use it, and I have to find a way for them to use it safely. And they just want to use it. They're like, safety what? I want to put this in the same room with my patient and have ChatGPT dictate back to my laptop my conversation with my patient because I can't remember what was said. Mm-hmm. I'm not kidding. This is a real thing that I'm dealing with right now. So, what could go wrong? Nothing at all, because ChatGPT is HIPAA compliant.
Yeah. So my take on ChatGPT is, so as an instructor, the students can use that, to do their essays, and the big problem there is plagiarism. So, it's kind of what is plagiarized, what is not, how do you find it, how you track it, and how do you keep track, especially with that, I've got that, and I've played with it a little bit, and I would just ask it something, and I was amazed, it would write it out, and I was like, well, but there's no references, and, so as far as an educator, that I think is going to be a big issue with, schools and how they're going to keep track of it. And then from a security standpoint, you can tell ChatGPT to, write a code, and it will code, and the code might work, but it doesn't know if it's a secure code. So, you get these junior people, and they're out saying, hey, I'm gonna just, I'm on a deadline, I'm gonna write this code, and tell it to, hey, write this script, and it'll write that script. But then it might be full of security holes, and they don't check that. So that would be an issue. So that's where I'm with the big thing that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here real quick because I know that there's been some companies that have been in the news lately where their developers have used ChatGPT, but it's their internal proprietary code, so now it's out there. Because your information is out there for the whole community, and the AI is learning off of the input that everybody puts into ChatGPT. So their proprietary code is now available to everyone.
Ask a question that we could all talk about an hour on just to get started in the first question. But I think that we all know that this is like any other emerging technology. It's here. You know, you have to know that it's here. But we've got really smart people who are saying it's the end of the world, oh my God. And the fact is that in 1945, we nuked a country, and everybody went, oh my God, this is now war, and we're all going to be gone. And 80 years later, we're still here. We're still worried about it, but we're still here. So it's not the sky is falling. We need to, as security professionals, we need to be very careful about fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and oh my God, the sky is falling, because as I think our moderator started off, trust is kind of one of those things where we need to make sure we maintain it, or else nobody's going to listen to us anyways. But in the exact same word, emergent technologies are disruptive, and this can be really disruptive. This is a nuke. Back in the 50s, literally there were people thinking that I'm going to make a nuclear reactor in the backyard, and they were trying to, and all of a sudden we had uranium all over the place. Not a good thing. It's dangerous. AI is dangerous. But it's also something that can be very helpful, but we need to let it grow. And right now the problem is everybody's running around with a cake of uranium, not really knowing what to do with this. And we've all been hearing about the lawyer running out with his brief that was complete BS, thinking that this is reality. We need to allow for this technology to be sandboxed. We need to understand it before we start going forward, and we need to start thinking about the repercussions, because right now, if I killed Google, if I could just snap my finger and Google was gone, the IQ of everybody in this room, much less the world, would drop drastically, right? And in the same word, if we start becoming too reliant on this, and I think that one of the bigger things I look at is we need to stop thinking about how do we replace people and how do we augment people? How do we work with this technology instead of how do I get rid of people because it's cheaper? And if we can get around that, in 80 years we'll be 160 years into nukes and 80 years into AI, and we'll all still be here. If not, might be interesting.
So, Mohamed, when you speak, I'd like you to speak about like how AI and what you think the future of AI can be for security and benefit us. The other three panelists kind of talked about some of the downsides with it. What are the upsides for us as security professionals?
I mean, first of all, as Cody said, emerging this technology, the cloud was like, whoa, it's going to take my jobs. And we see people get more jobs now, right? Because the role of the cloud, people are doing more things. Same thing for blockchain. People start to talk about blockchain and they have no clue how it works. Now with AI or ChatGPT, people have an opinion in the security team and they have no clue how it works. Why don't you go ahead and learn what ChatGPT, what's the G stand for God's sake, right? Yeah, so what the G stand for, because it will answer one of the questions. So, and I had to face this because we had a request from one of our customers if they can use ChatGPT. Guess what? They already shadow IT. Try using it. So ChatGPT is here to stay. You like it or you don't like it. You better get in the diet of risk management. And this is all what you can do. And I did speak for a global event on II RMF. We have the NIST 800-37 for the 7 steps for the one follow FISMAS, but we have an AI-100 from the NIST that really speaks exactly for the risk, for how to manage the risk. We don't secure things. Let me say this 10 times. We don't secure things, we manage risks. And we use technology to enable business. So AI has been used, it's going to be used against us by writing that script kiddie code quickly, but it can be used to defend us. Talk about that EDR or MD, and all the host protection that you see. The AI is playing a big role. Many of the vendors here, they are actually so proud to say my product is using AI, to augment, not to replace, right? So I see that the more we understand AI and the application of AI will help us to enable, and also I teach globally and also teach at university, community colleges like Mike. And I honestly, if I can replace human, why not? I mean, you're not feeling so bad that you can't walk to your vacation in Hawaii or swim to it. You're happy to fly, right? So give it to the machine. It doesn't get tired. You can use people other places. Exactly. The only people are going to be afraid for this emerging technology. What are the people they don't want to change or retool? The people who want to manage the business, the business mission of 2023 with NT 4.0 skills. Doesn't work. So retool yourself. So I see AI, because we have to quickly adopt it, have some governance around it, have some policy that describe, have some CI/CD for the AI, ChatGPT. I know CI/CD is for continuous development, continuous integration, but that's where you have, say, September 2021, the latest data that was used by OpenAI. Guess what? If a nation state can pollute that well, we may all start to be changing our culture, because ChatGPT said to make ice cream you have to put red chili and some kebab and some to it, and you have to believe OpenAI, which is not true. So we are being trusting the data. So we have a problem now. A nation state can pollute our source of the data and make all of us start to change our culture in a way that the machine said it. So it's a big, so let's go with CI/CD, where we do the shift to the left when secure, and we will look at the checkpoint early enough. So where we inject the human, where we trust the machine. And at the end of the day, we all take responsibility for we deploy, that's whatever you use the AI for. So let's learn AI, and there's a lot of resources about this. So.
Well, and you said trust the human or AI, but is it the human real or is it a deep fake? So, I mean, we have all these different things. I think Mohamed brought up some really good points, because 4 or 5 years ago, security was like, oh, the cloud, oh, we don't want to go in the cloud, and it's like, look at this now. It's like security is embracing the cloud. We see a lot of benefits to that, and so we have to adjust, and we have to, I don't know if we necessarily have to embrace AI, but we need to be very versed on it and know how to secure it and advise our organizations on how to use it effectively. Otherwise, like I said in my keynote, they're just going to work around you to get their job done. And then I'll end with just one humorous thing. We'll switch to another topic. So when people bring up AI to me, I humorously joke with them and be like, have you not watched the end of Battlestar Galactica and what happens? So it will turn on us someday, but people don't seem to understand that. Okay, so we'll shift to another topic here. So what is the real-world impact of a cyber attack on a business? And the reason why I say this is that, I think a lot of times like, oh, if we get a cyber attack, we're going to be out of business. That has happened some, not a lot, to my knowledge. It's happened some. But what really is the impact? I mean, is it as bad as what we have been told it is, or is this something that's just kind of business as usual and we deal with this?
It depends to the incident. So if you get ransomware and you are in a hospital, game over. People will be dying if they're going to have to go to surgery. So it depends the type of the incident. If you get denial of service attack and you are a pizza shop, just people had to wait a little bit to order a pizza. So it depends on the impact and the type of the incident. So, but you have to assume the worst. It doesn't matter small business or a big corporation. We have seen ransomware attack that hit some even big company deep pocket. So you have to plan for the worst. And the latest worst we see is really ransomware. That's why it really can wipe the organization, and especially when you go to the cloud. That's another place where when your whole infrastructure is as a code, and somebody can, with a command, wipe out your data center and kick you out, the market, and it happened with the organization 8 years ago. Their infrastructure was wiped out, and they went out of business. So it depends what kind of incident you will have. So
I think that one of the problems that and this isn't just security, this is all of us, the users and even as normal human beings. If we walk into an outhouse, smells bad, right? But if you're there for 10 minutes, doesn't smell as bad, and that's what you do for a living. The thing about it is that we're humans and we're very adaptable. And one of the problems that we run into is that if you work in the medical field, you walk in and you're used to saying, what's your last name and what's your full social security in front of everybody. This is normal. We've all seen this. And you just go, oh God, really? But we're all very conditioned to working with PII, PCI, all this sensitive data. Just after the billionth time you've seen it, you don't really care. So what's the impact? Well, just this morning I had somebody telling me about Dallas apparently in the last week has been compromised, and the entire rape abuse database is now gone. So those women are now at risk from abusers on a regular basis. So that's the impact, right? Mm-hmm. Have you ever helped somebody who's had their identity stolen? It's not just, hey, I don't see my social security number, but it's still important. That's the real world. I mean, I've had to help too many people, who have lost their entire retirement savings. I've had to help women that have been abused and now.
Yeah, and biometrics.
So, I don't know if anybody watches this show. It's called Trafficked. It's on National Geographic. And the investigator travels around, actually infiltrates with criminals to see how they do their crimes behind the scenes. Excuse me, the last episode I watched was cybercrimes. And you would think that everybody thinks it's like out of the country. These people were in California, New Jersey, Colorado. There were some in New Mexico. And they're gang member business, but we also have to consider the customers of the business. The employees of the business have to be considered when we're looking at what are the ramifications of a security incident, because it could be one of us. And until you experience it, until you see somebody go through it, you don't understand how scary that thought is. And that's something to always keep in mind. We do this work for a reason. Sometimes it's for the money, but we got into this not because we want to be better humans, but because we want to make the world a better place. Mm-hmm. And I say that sounding like Miss America, but that's kind of what we're doing. Like, we want to make sure that, I have grandkids, I want to make sure that they have a little bit better chance at their safety, or, being able to secure their kids' information and just protecting them as individuals so they can grow up without all of this. But, just like we were talking about ChatGPT, the problem with that is you're trusting the code. There's somebody developing that code. That code is not being developed by another computer. It's being developed by a person. That person has biases. That person could have issues with, Homeland Security, like, oh, I'm gonna write this code and I'm gonna blow up the White House. I mean, it could be racially motivated. So all of this technology, we do this work. We can't stop it, but we wanna make sure that we have the mitigation pieces in place to rectify it when it's presented.
Thank you. Yeah, so, talking about medical records and stuff, I remember way back when, before I really got into security, I went to a yard sale and I bought a computer, and I took it home and I hooked it up, and the first thing I did, I fired it up, and there were all these medical records on it. And I was like, well, this is kind of interesting. So, I didn't know what to do with it at that time, because I wasn't in security. But yeah, it just goes to show that you know, when people get rid of their computers, you know, how do they sanitize it? You know, I just recently donated a computer, and the first thing I did is I took the hard drive out of it, and, you know, it's like, okay, now I can get rid of it, because, you know, I'm not going to try to sanitize it, because you can always put, you know, put it back together. So, yeah, I just donated it without a hard drive. But that was a long time ago before I got into security, and I think I got into security because, you know, it's really interesting, and knowing, you know, things like, you know, how to do things like, you know, secure my computer. What do I, you know, I don't want to be that guy that, you know, hey, I got rid of this stuff and now everybody's, you know, they have my information out there. And, you know, the other thing is, you know, people think, you know, I'm just this one little person and what that one little computer, and, you know, so I'm insignificant. But there was a time when Bitcoin was big mining, you know, and they needed a lot of computer power. So what they were doing was going and picking out these individuals and making this huge botnet, you know, for, you know, using up their computer power to mine Bitcoin. So yeah, you're one person, but if you take that one person and you multiply it by, you know, 50 or 60,000, you've got a huge network, you know, and you've got all that information just sitting out there. So yeah, that's why it's important for people to, you know, take advantage, you know, take steps to secure your home computers and your business computers. So, you know, the impact of, you know, security in business, it's out there. You know, whether a business is going to, you know, it's probably not a matter of if, but when they get, you know, get attacked or something. And, you know, people are always trying to get into Bank of America. They're always trying to get into the government. They're always, those people are, you know, they're under attack, you know, on a daily basis. So, you know, it's just, I think, a matter of when. And they just you have to be prepared for that.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So we do have a question from the virtual audience, and one of you can choose whoever wants to answer this. I don't think everybody has to answer this question. Have any of you implemented policies on OpenAI, ChatGPT, etc.?
Why is everybody looking at me?
Question.
I'm working on it. I don't even know where to begin with it, but it's, I'll share it, I promise, when I get it written.
Okay, just exactly how long ago did it come out? And you're already supposed to have written the policies for something that we're still trying to get our minds around. And yeah, we're still figuring this out. And anybody that says they've got the policies written, even Samsung is like, yeah, okay, we learned this isn't a good idea, but they're still writing their policies. Nobody's got this down yet. That's what we were talking about earlier. We've got to get it so that we've got some time to let this percolate through so that we understand it. Right now, we're all playing with this. We don't understand it. You know, right now, I know one guy that is going out and to your point earlier, his entire thing is he's trying to find out the most efficient way to pull code down from specific, he's wanting to have targeted pulls from specific organizations so that he can now pull that IP and then make profit. That's his idea for how he's going to make money going forward. He's not the only one. And all of a sudden you're all out there using Copilot, and it's going through all your code. Okay, how did you make sure that that is not just your exfiltration point? I mean, how many of us are all sitting here buying all the vendors' products for DLP, and then going, but ChatGPT, that's good. Well, it is good, because it is going through and it is helping us with, you know, SaaS, DAST, and we've all tried to figure out this part of it. So there's a really good part to this. But in the exact same breath, open sourcing your code whenever you didn't know you were open sourcing it, maybe we need to figure out what the policy should be. We really need time to figure this out, and we're not there yet. It just came out.
Thank you, Cody. When we, I mean, this is if you work on a governance and policy is a tool for governance, any policy is not, to create a policy life cycle is not going to happen in a week. Usually to create a policy, at least 6 months, any policy, because why? Otherwise you'll be a policy that represents just you. Because you have to have all the stakeholders part of that policy when you create a policy. And there is a known life cycle for policy. So what I did in our office of OIT, which of course with limited resources, we try always to stay ahead of emerging technologies such as GPT. I was gone for 7 weeks, but before that time, around I believe early April, we established a committee that will be looking into OpenAI initiative and how to create a governance around it. One of it was, of course, getting the right stakeholders and getting the artifacts are going to support, doing this in a risk-managed way. There's a lot of learning has to happen. Not all of the team or all of us were able to carve the time to learn, deeply this technology. But the first thing we thought, although you should have a policy before you have standard, sometimes you have to really build the airplane in the sky. If any one of you watched the EDS, this video, 3 minutes, or EDS, Google it, EDS, build airplane in the sky. You see building airplane in the sky, and they are the customer while the airplane being built. So you have to do things not in a way that you wish to, because you have to be agile, and this is a very thing important for cybersecurity. So we thought writing a standard for OpenAI security, because we know the policy, the intent is to manage risk. So but we are working on getting the policy in place. And without a policy, maybe you're doing things right, but you're not working on the right things. And that's very important, because senior management has to sign off. So if they are not senior management there to sign off on your policy, it's just a hobby. You're not doing what the senior management wants you to do. So it's very important, since talking about policy in general, get the senior management to sign off so they will allow you to reorganize your work. Because maybe you're working on zero trust architecture, which is now a buzzword and all the cool things vendor can sell you product for it. But now you want me to do zero trust initiative and you want me to address OpenAI, which one you want first, right? So you have to have a policy with the sign off from senior management, which means these resources allow you to do this. So it's not rocket science having a policy for, they just, the only time you get challenged with writing policy about any emerging technology is just because you don't understand it. Go learn it. Really, that's next time we'll be talking about open something. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. So we're a little more than halfway through. Are there any questions that the audience has? So we have a few. So please wait for a microphone to come to you, and then we'll start with Mike at the end to answer whatever question the audience throws at us.
42.
Hi. So kind of around the last question that you were answering, around policy. So our CISO, my boss, is working with legal to try to iron out policies. And we try really hard not to be a department of no. So we're not fully blocking the use of AI, but we have set some guardrails until we, kind of iron out what exactly it'll look like to authorize that, because we're afraid of then that presents the issue of things like shadow IT. So my question is, if you feel like you need time for established policies when there's more clarity around OpenAI and things like that, how are you addressing people's desire and aspiration to use those types of tools and chatbots within your organization? I know some companies are just flat out blocking and saying, we're not using it, but then that kind of prohibits that learning and growing with the tool over time.
So the question is how do you make policies that would, yeah. So really, I don't think that anybody, one person's going to be able to sit down and write that policy. It's going to take, it does take time. It takes a committee. Like they said, you've got to write it, you've got to send it up the chain, they've got to look at it, everybody's going to do their little marks on it, and everybody's going to have their different ideas on it. It may take months to write a security policy, and that you're going to have to probably build on existing policies, that if you're allowing this or that, and what are you blocking. I don't think it's going to be flat out, oh, you can't use it, because one of the big things about that is, if you're, how are you going to be able to differentiate between somebody actually, writing out an essay or using this chat GPT? How are they going to differentiate that, because it's so well, it writes it. And how are you going to know if they're, what's on the computers? How are you going to know, so that's kind of where that policy is going to come from. If you just say, well, you can't use it. Well, you can't use it on the company computer, but they might use it on their home computer, or they might, on their own devices. So, how are where's that fine line, and where are you going to draw that line for your policy? And like I said, it could take, months or years to differentiate that.
I take a different approach. I wait till the moon aligns, and then the North Star is in front of the Big Dipper, and then my toes are curled inside, and then that's when I know. No, I'm just kidding. We're taking a different approach. We are relying on our cloud vendors and kind of putting some of the responsibility there and creating a localized environment for it. So we're looking, like I was serious when I said my doctors want to be able to use ChatGPT with their patients, but that dictation machine will be attached to an Azure environment, and that environment will be enclosed with the Microsoft BAA to ensure that the compliancy efforts from that aspect are in place, and then we'll put some additional guardrails along with that environment. They're saying it can only be used by these particular doctors. Will create access lists, data use agreements that have to be signed for every user that's going to be using it. So we have processes in place that we're going to be putting in, because as much as I would like to say no, not right now, not tomorrow, next year, when I quit, when I retire, whatever you want to do, that's kind of where we're at right now. So it's going to be in a localized environment that we can really monitor and log and track and really audit for usage along those lines.
Okay, I know Cody, I know you want to say something, but in the interest of time, I know there's other audience questions, so I want to move on to another question. I know we had one back there.
Actually, I've got some that is really germane to that last.
My concern is that there needs to be more urgency around policy. Otherwise, it's going to be like our legal system that still hasn't caught up with basic statute regulating the arena. So if we don't have policy, although imperfect, implemented immediately, it's a growing document. It's revised to meet the demand as we see the issues. But otherwise, it's going to be like our legal system. We don't have statute that addresses cyber policy yet.
Well, okay. That actually is a good follow-on. And the previous question that we were talking about, whenever I was answering, it was very specifically around Chat GPT, because I mean that really, you just let AI out to the masses in exceptionally easy to use format. And so whenever I was answering, that was why I'm like, hey, we haven't really had enough time to think about this aspect of it. But AI has actually been around for quite a while. Machine learning, AI, whatever you want to call it. And one of the statements I'm about to make, I want to be very clear, are not germane to any specific place that I've worked. I've worked with a lot of AI policy as a general statement, just trying to help companies figure out what they were doing. And there's a couple of things that I would put as a pro tip. One of the big ones is if you need to have a question before every last one of your projects. Are you or are you not using AI or machine learning? Because if you are, now you're going to go down a whole separate set of questions and you're going to get sign off from whatever the appropriate level is. So that should be a policy. So I will give you that as a pro tip. One of the others that I don't think most people are thinking about is that I can ask ChatGPT how many monkeys does it take to write Shakespeare, and it'll give me an answer. And you know what? That had zero effect on the world. And it can give me an answer, and it doesn't. One of the things that we need to be thinking about with AI, and this is where all the Terminator jokes are going to come out, Skynet and all the rest of it, but we need to, whenever you're writing policy, think about the fact that there is a difference between action and learning, okay? Whenever you start combining the technologies is when you're really gonna start getting into problems. So if you are sitting there and you have a project and they're trying to figure out how AI can help them go through their logs faster or something like that, then you know what? At that point, nothing's really happened. Looking at logs means nothing until you act on it. If I all of a sudden take that and put it into SOAR so that it can automatically make decisions and it can shut down the firewall or it can, do whatever is going on, I've combined two technologies. And as soon as you combine two technologies, it's logarithmic how much complexity you just introduced, because all the rules that go around how the SOAR works, or how bots, this is actually where I did a lot of work, where the bots are working, because the bots will go out and they can do anything. And what we're finding out is also that bots are literally, they're another service account that goes all over the world and can do anything, and low code, no code means any idiot out there can make something happen. Now all of a sudden add that to AI and the complexities get too much. So whenever, the pro tip here is, whenever you're trying to figure out policy, understand the AI and try to get that so that you understand what your policy is saying. And then understand the difference between the benignness of that doing anything and combining it with other technologies that all of a sudden act on something, because it's that action that's going to get you in trouble.
Okay, let's move on to another audience question.
Yeah, this is Neil. A quick question then is, what is, to allow innovation in this field? And I know that where I am currently, we have sandboxes for learning tools in cyber and that sort of thing. What are the opportunities of putting together a sandbox to be able to play and then take that learning and seeing how that's going to apply in the real world?
So to lower the cost of the learning, cloud. Go to the cloud and AWS has a game day. So go play, have a picnic in the cloud. And you can build whatever scenario you want as a code, and if it doesn't work, there's no loss in your asset. So adopt the cloud, adopt automation, adopt infrastructure as a code, and create efficiency and take your people from NT 4.0 skills to CloudFormation, Terraform, Ansible, all those things. So I think that's the best way to learn. And that's what we do when we are teaching. I can't wait for somebody to deploy something on their laptop. Community colleges have no budget, universities. So what I do with the student, go open a year worth of AWS free account and let's play. So that's the place where you do this. Is that what you meant by the question? Yeah.
Go out and put the data that you're working with day in, day out into a sandbox, filtered, and that way you can actually see what is happening to that data in that sandbox. And then if things, if it works well, how can I put this into action?
That's a whole different question. Using real data in a playground, that's kind of, you have to put the same level of control as the prod environment.
Yeah, sanitized.
I don't think you have a budget for that. So maybe you go another route. There's a lot of simple data. There are some organizations, some company, and we work this with the federal government, like IRS, FTI, Federal Tax Information. You don't use real data in any environment unless, because you'll be subject to PCI DSS, same thing. So you may want first to use a token technology that will represent the data and get the insight in a lesser, I don't say lesser secure environment, in an environment that you decided not to invest more into it than the prod environment. That's why it's very important to adopt the cloud in this, like the different environment, the test, the development test, and prod environment. So you can do things in less costly way. So do not use real data in any non-production environment unless you have the same budget that you do for the prod, because PII or PCI or FTI or SSA or GDPR, you'll be in the same scope for compliance. Sanitize, anonymize, de-identifies, all those I's, so yeah.
Exactly.
From that sandbox experience.
Again, I'll go back to this, model the threat for your organization, threat modeling. So you need to understand your business or vertical things. So don't go to DevCon or Black Hat or conference and say, I'm going to do threat modeling. And by the way, sorry, I have to elaborate this. Yes.
Yeah, go and finish your thought, and then we're going to move on to another question.
Yeah, don't think about this AI, ChatGPT, like somebody logging, like I did. I told a story. I was after surgery. I told ChatGPT, hey, can you write something really heartbreaking message to my kids? And I get really nice message. I send it. I didn't change nothing. Even I said at the end, yours, ChatGPT. My sister-in-law saw that message. She cried. It wasn't me. So the point is, do threat modeling and think about the API integration from the application platform into OpenAI. Remove the user. Now the organization wants to automate that application and try to do things through integration. It's a whole game. It's a whole thing. It has nothing to do with the end user. This developer is integrating with another source through API. How do you handle that? How to ensure the integrity of the data that you may be automatically published on your public website? Think about government. You end up with some inaccurate information. Reputation, somebody will not be re-elected maybe. So it's a very risk on a whole different level. So sorry, it's another conference.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of things to consider with this area. So we'll take one last audience question, and then whichever panelist wants to answer that. And then after that question is answered, then I would like each panelist to give 1 minute, which I know is going to be a big challenge for everyone on this panel because everyone has a lot of thoughts, to give a closing summary of just anything that you see in cybersecurity. So let's go to the question in the back.
Yeah, so I'll just make it really quick. Just adding in a little bit of perspective, because I've been in your industry, your industry, your industry, and your industry. I do see the value behind, trying to hide, or protect, things behind policy in terms of AI. I don't want to keep dragging on that, so just want to say that I appreciate the thought. Then from the other side, specifically for your industry in healthcare, and maybe even you in banking, the things that I've noticed that cause the most stress in any part of the IT world is dealing with antiquated products, dealing with softwares that are written from platforms that were made 10 years ago that we're still using for some reason. Few people made points that it doesn't make sense to try to have your security budget as part of your IT budget, and I agree with that for that reason. Can you guys explain a potential way to improve that, or if you've done so in your own organizations, how have you done so?
I hate to admit this out public, but we actually have Windows 8 machines. There is a reason. Medical equipment. medical equipment. So what we have done is, because we can't just yank it out, update it, because the software that's tied to the medical equipment may not work, we've segmented it. It's on its own VNAIL. It's separated from the rest of the network. There's only a couple of machines like that, but even when I heard that, I was like, Windows what? What is that? I don't even remember what Windows 8 was. I was like, oh wait, I remember Windows 8. Why? But then they explain it's actually tied to medical equipment, so it's not something that we can just yank out or update it. There's a reason why it's there. So most of the time, we're able to update it to the most recent updates, get it patched the way it needs to be, and there are some certain instances where we just can't touch it. So.
But if we're beholden to compliance, you know, why do we let that?
There's a compensating control somewhere for
yes,
that.
yes. I'm just saying, you guys should help fight for that.
Yeah, so in the banking, I can't speak directly for Bank of America, but yeah, we try to stay, you know, we have our testing environments, and they're consistently and constantly trying to, you know, innovate and, you know, make new stuff like, you know, your mobile phones, your mobile banking, and so, you know, as far as that goes, you know, we're not on Windows 8. We're kind of a little further than that, but
They're on mainframes.
No shade. You have mainframes.
But yeah, we're always trying to keep up with the technology.
Okay, thank you everyone for the audience questions. Thanks to the panelists. So we have just a few minutes left, so try to keep it brief, keep it to about 1 minute. Just whatever you want to speak about. I know a lot of this discussion was focused on policy and AI. That's obviously a very big topic. I appreciate everybody's input on that. So Mike, we'll start with you. Just whatever you want to speak about, just in kind of a closing summary, and we'll go through each panelist here quickly.
Okay. Yeah, as far as what I gather from being in the security conferences and stuff like that, you know, the biggest thing that I could say is everybody trying to, you know, you need to keep up with education. You know, that's the key. If you can't just sit around and what you learned 10 years ago and still think that's relevant. You know, whether you're taking formal classes at the colleges or you're attending conferences or, you know, whatever you're doing, you know, it's always better. You have to keep up with the education. You have to keep up with the technology. You have to stay current whether it's in your personal life, your business life, or whatever. That's the key to me is, you know, stay relevant.
I think the one thing to hold on to is that we are all security professionals. Somebody has gone through something before, so don't sit there and spin your wheels trying to figure something out. Utilize your network. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest, that's the best thing that I can say. Oh, and go Nuggets.
Woo!
I think that it's important that we remember how important the work that we're all doing is. And real quick question for a pen test: do you know how to tell if you had a successful pen test? Just real quick. Anybody got an idea?
That it broke.
What else?
Get compromised.
Here's my answer. It's whether or not on the second pen test you found any of the problems from the first pen test, because we typically don't we will typically forget the fact that the point of what we're doing is to protect people, and the way we protect people is actually fixing things, and the way we fix things is through our relationships, through our knowledge, and through being able to have the patience to work with the business to get to where we need to be. And if we're able to do that, we're going to be successful, and we're going to make this world better. And that's, I think, after, you know, yeah, we need to feed the family and all that, but that's why I think most of the people that I'm used to are in this business, and the fact is that's how you get there.
Thank you, Cody. I just took a bullet item because I can't in 1 minute.
Your answer? You use ChatGPT for your answer.
Almost. So I know we talked about AI, but I think we still be challenged with RI, real intelligence. So which take us to the security hygiene. We don't have to be, you know, the 101 things. Go to the CIS hardening standard, those 18 control, and if you do just the first two, know your asset, I mean, software, and if you know them, you're going to do something about it. Second thing is keep learning. Otherwise, you'll be laughed at, because some business, they are smarter than some of us, IT, that still using NT 4.0 skills. And think about yourself as delivering value in your role. If you don't deliver value, get a life. They will move on. Because the other one is embrace change. Change is necessity. Survivor is optional. Okay? So really the only constant about the change is the changing. So these are a few elements and share with you. And we don't secure things. We manage risk. So, and the only way you know that you manage risk is by documenting the risk appetite of your leadership in a document that is signed. Otherwise, you need to update your resume if something happened.
Yep. And then just in closing, one of the things that I would add, you know, and great, I really appreciate everyone, what each of you said, is take care of yourselves. I mean, we're coming into summer. You know, a lot of us work a lot of hours, and our jobs are pretty stressful. I mean, we have a lot of responsibility to our organizations to keep them safe and secure. But as someone told me, you know, you're the CEO of your career. If you're getting burned out, maybe it's not the right place for you. Maybe you need to step away. You know, take a vacation, unplug as much as you can. Now, of course, I'm a hypocrite. I'm actually going on vacation tomorrow, and my work laptop's going with me. But, you know, my team knows that it's like you can reach me in an urgent thing, but I'm not going to be checking my email all day long. I'll check it in the morning and at night, and that's pretty much it. So, you know, please try to take care of yourselves. We do have, you know, I mentioned it in the keynote that we do have a shortage of people in security. Depending on numbers, you know, some people say 2.5 million worldwide. Who knows how real those numbers really are? But I do know in talking with a lot of different people that people are burnt out. People are tired. And please take care of yourselves. We need you. And like, you know, Cody is saying, it's like, we need you to help fight the fight. Because this isn't just protecting our company's information. It's protecting people's information. It's protecting people. So thank you very much.
Bravo. All right. And thank you all. And I have, before we wrap up, I have one last question for the panel. But before I ask them that question, how about a round of applause for all of our sponsors? Because we couldn't be here if it were not for our sponsors. So speaking of sponsors, all of our sponsors would probably love the opportunity to sit in front of any of you guys on any given day at any given hour. And we know that your voicemails, your LinkedIn, we know that it is tough to get a hold of you guys, and you probably don't want to be reached out to because so many people are reaching out to you. So what, in a minute or less, would your advice be to all the sponsors here? What is the best way to get in front of a CISO, or even if you're not a CISO, how would they get in front of you, and what should they do and what should they not do? And we can start with you, Merlin.
Okay. I would say get to know me. I ignore your voicemails. I ignore your emails. I ignore the LinkedIn requests. I personally, as a CISO, I receive somewhere around 20 unsolicited vendor emails a day. I ignore all of them. I actually make fun of some of them because they're like, they pretend like they know my environment. And you know, one of the things I don't think the vendors understand is that when I go to like different like CISO dinners or events, you know, Denver is a huge, has just a great security community. There's lots of events going on all the time. When we get together, we talk about like, hey, I had this bad experience with this vendor. So word gets out there. So if you know, you keep pestering people, you know, another person's gonna be like, oh yeah, they're pestering me too. So I would suggest just get to know us on a personal level, and don't pretend you know what my problems are. Ask questions and learn from us.
And I just want to say really quick, Merlin was sitting by himself for a couple hours on the side over here, and I had a nice 20-minute conversation. Any of you guys could have stopped and said hi to him. So I'm just saying. Okay, Mohamed.
Thank you. The best way really is send your email and just describe what kind of solution that you are offering, which problem, and especially how it differentiates you from a competitor, especially if you do your homework and you know what I'm using because I'm public, you know, entity, and be patient. Because I guarantee you, if I have a pain, I will come to you. So don't try to force that call by, if you, I mean, sadly, I have some people reach out to me, ask me for offer for a job for the state in my office, and I am in my office. So can you believe it, how much Salesforce CRM automation is taking place here? You're not talking to me. So be patient and just articulate what problem you can solve and how it differentiates you from competitors. Because I may using competitors, maybe I'm not happy with. I may come to you and be patient. So, and if those because I have to block some of, I just accept, and then the next thing is LinkedIn has this feature, automatically I get this. Even I accept at midnight or at middle of the day, I get a message to me by this person. Impossible. There's a lot of automation going on, so I block the person.
First of all, I actually, I'm at a point in my life where I'm trying to mentor a lot of people. I'm trying to be available for people, and usually that's through LinkedIn. But one of the things that just makes me go, not only am I not going to talk to you, I'm going to expressly try to not talk to you, is whenever on LinkedIn I'm trying to put myself out there so that I can help and bring in, as you were talking about, my fellow new security people. And I've got people who start off with, hey, I just want to ask you questions. Hey, I just want to, which is what I'm looking for. And then all of a sudden it's, hey, I've got the solution for the XYZ thing. And I'm like, you just bait and switch me, which means I'm now not just going to not look at your product, I'm going to ban it as much as I can, talk down to you. I know one guy over at the CSA that is damn near militant about this kind of behavior. So don't bullshit us is really what it comes down to. If I'm out there and trying to help bring up more security people and answer their questions on how do you break in or into being security and how do you do more, and I've got a solicitor trying to use that against me, yeah, you just social engineered me, and you know what? I know how to deal with that.
Don't mention me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Because I will ignore you unless you can specifically say, yes, I'm looking at all you vendors, where you met me, what we talked about. If you can reference where, maybe I'll look at it. But LinkedIn, no. If you send me an email, I might even be nice enough to be like, hey, my organization is not looking at this right now. If we get it in the future, blah, blah, blah. I have a template, cut and paste, put it in there. But yeah, don't reach out to me on LinkedIn because I treat my LinkedIn like my Facebook and my Instagram and my contact list. It's very sacred, and you have to be a very special individual to get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't use, I am on LinkedIn, but I don't use it a whole lot. Like, I use it like Facebook. I kind of look at it every once in a while. Somebody will mention, and then I'll look at it. It's like, okay. But like email's probably one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me because I check my email all the time. But be patient. Remember that I am not the voice of, that I can't say, hey, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Because this stuff has to go, the products have to go through legal, they have to go through contracting, they've got to go, up and down the chain, and so I can't just say, yeah, I'll buy that, so just be aware of that. You can send me an email, say this is what I do, this is what we've got, this is the situation, and then I'll look at it and I can send it to the team that actually can use that or actually make that decisions. But just remember that, I'm just a starting point.
Okay, well, thank you all. I mean, it's been awesome to have you all out here for the day. We know that being, in a leadership role of your company, for you guys to spend the whole day here, that is a wonderful thing. So we at FutureCon appreciate all of you guys speaking and sitting on our panel and keynote speaking, and all of our attendees for spending the day, and all of our virtual viewers out there as well, and of course our sponsors. So that is a wrap. We are going to do our prizes. The bar is still open. There's tons of pizza over here. So for those that dropped their prize cards in, stick around. We're going to do our prizes. And you guys are free to do whatever you want. The bar is open, so thank you guys so much.